Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite Warlock here, practicing necromancer and dark arts practitioner. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about reflections. Why is it important to reflect upon your journey? And I really want to touch on this because of the fact that it plays into a lot of different areas. When you get into any form of tradition, you're going to be put on a journey that will enlighten you in many, many different ways, especially when you get into spiritualism and you begin to work with supernatural beings, such as the jinn, the Devi, the old gods of the old pantheons of paganism, to goetic demons, down to, say, for example, the blighted lords and ladies, even the Loa or the Orisha. When you get into working with these beings, you're forging a relationship with them. You're entering into a formal blood pact with these beings, these entities. And many of them will educate you, they will lead you on a journey that will just blow your mind, your entire perception of the world. For an example, the last 3 years, just in my life alone, since I formally came out and stated that I am following the Mazajir path full time, I've been met with some hatred, a lot of opposition, but I've also been met with a lot of knowledge, welcoming arms, and a lot of praise. Not in an egotistical or popularity sense, but more of, I'm proud of you, you know? I'm proud of you, or that guidance of, let's lead you into this area because this is the path that you seem to be going into. And it's interesting to see the twists and turns, the unexpected events that arise within your path working and your everyday life. It's very intriguing to view how these spirits work in your life, in your own world. For an example, last night I was doing a rite, and after I did this rite, I was just, I went out to eat with my better half, and when I came home, I got into bed because my leg was hurting due to a former injury. It was just a flare up, and so I had my book spread out on the bed, and I was reading. I was doing some chanting and kind of reflecting over things. And a lot of times, you find yourself being, how should I say this? You're being kind of obsessive compulsive, I guess you could say, when you're thinking about a particular topic or event or series of events that ended in your personal life. And I've spoken on my career from Tractor Supply to Dunkin' Donuts and now as a dietary aid. But how did I get to this apotheosis, this knowledge, this gnosis over 7 years, 3 years, really, when you get right down to the nitty gritty? You look into your life and where your requests when you're petitioning spirits and how they're operating in the shadows. In past videos, I've discussed my former employer had a heart attack and a triple bypass. And I even did a video at one point. I ended up deleting that video, but I kind of talked a little bit about the wrongdoings of that company and the games that they played. That constant training to be backstabbers, liars, and betrayers, keeping that cycle of drama going. It's like going back to the 80s with the rich get richer, getting richer and the poor getting poorer. So when he had his heart attack and we found out about it at work, I put my hat in the ring for team lead because I had a sneaking suspicion that they were going to start promoting people, and so I wanted to put my hat in the ring and just say, hey, I've got management experience, I've got this going on, and they were surprised because I never said anything about the having that type of experience. So they said they would keep me in their minds. So about 2 years later, um, well, after this event, I went to. Well, first of all, I should say that I went to the blighted lords and ladies, and I petitioned them to open up the doors, and I said, if it's not for me and mine, then I don't want it. But if it is for me and mine, then I do want it. And I petitioned them for their aid and their help within my personal life and my career. And I made it apparent with that particular intent that I wanted to move up. I wanted to get out of the flatfoot situation where you are just an employee, a grunt. It'd be like being the shoe pad, I guess you could say, for those who want to walk all over you because you're the low man on the totem pole. That's what happens when you start at new companies. You end up starting at the bottom and you have to work your way up. And out of all the jobs and careers I've had over the years, I've been betrayed, I've been lied to, I've had that proverbial knife in my back, and I had been a warehouse manager. You know, I've run trailer parks as a manager, and it's, I've had a lot of experience. So here I am putting my hat in the ring saying, I've had enough. I want to move up in the company. I want to move up into higher ranks again, and I want to get into that upper echelon, so to speak. I know I've got to work for it, and I know I've got to do the work, to get into this. And I've been doing this work, and I've literally gone beyond. But it's like, this company is, the upper levels are just basically saying to me, you know, the store manager was basically lazy to give you extra hours. So, especially an extra hour. You know what I'm saying? So I went to these blighted and I said this to them and I said, I've had enough. I want to move up. Can you work in the spiritual as I work in the physical? And as long as it's aligning with both our goals, then awesome. But even if it doesn't, if you're willing to help me, I'm willing to do something for you guys in return. That give and take relationship with these spirits. And it was interesting because here we are, fast forwarding by about a year and a half. And the team lead that I had at the time stepped down and another one stepped up, you know, and then another after that. And it was like that was the last straw. So it was like, you know what? I'm putting in my 2 weeks and going somewhere else. I've had enough. I can't physically do this job anymore because of my knees. Because of the job entailed having to kneel down a lot, and when you got bad knees, guess what? There's only so much of that you can do, so I don't blame anybody else for my knee issues. I blame myself because I treated my body like an amusement park, for so many years. So, I went to my patroness and I said, "I need wisdom, I need guidance. What should I do?" And then one day I was sitting there at work and I was making drinks, and one of my regular customers came through the window like she always does, sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes on a numerous basis, like say once or twice, type thing. And I had this overall urge to ask her about a particular topic, thanatology. And it was interesting because when I went to the window and I asked her, I said, "Hey, what schools do you recommend that would deal, with thanatology?" Well, guess what? She had no idea what thanatology was, and she runs a long-term living center. And so she said, "Well, what's it entail?" And I told her, and she says, "Well, some of those we train in house for." And that was a sign. That was like, okay, now I understand that intuition about asking her. I mean, it was so powerful, it just came over me. So I went and I asked her about this. And right after that shift, I went into where she works and I filled out the application, had the job opportunity, the interview, and the same day, and I was hired on the spot. She knew my work ethic. She knew what I was capable of doing. And about 2 weeks later, but actually, it was about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I ended up starting there, okay, as a dietary aide. And it was kinda interesting because I wanted to get situated there before I ended up getting the training. So, here we are about 5 months later. I'm getting into the training process of psychology and delving into thanatology full time within my ministry, but also within my studies, understanding pain and where it comes from, how it uh, plays into so many different, aspects of life. And when I did this ritual last night, I I went out and I started, meditating. I started just trying to do other stuff, and it was this reflection process that kind of just sat there. It was weird because how should I say this to you? I'm trying to put it into words so you'll understand. Mother Eldritch, welcome to the channel again. Glad to have you. Glad you're here too. So, it was interesting because I started comprehending everything from my journal to my grimoires to the studies, and I was going through this book and I came across a few rites and rituals that I've been keeping my eye on, things that I was considering, but I never got around to doing them. And so I started doing them, the chanting and stuff like that, and working with it. And now everything for the last 3 years has come into a reflection process because I could, for the first time in 8 years, the first time in 8 years, I see the future coming into fruition. You know what I'm saying? It's like I could see it unfolding and where I'm meant to be. And these spirits have had a huge, huge impact in my life. from the way I approach things to the way I reply to things and to the ways that I go about my studies and my practices, how I deal with approaching these spirits within a ritual or ceremonial level. And when I'm looking back over the last 3 years, I've noticed myself backing off from social media a lot. I've opened up a few new accounts from various different, social media outlets like Instagram, TikTok, um, Timber, and MeWe. Not just Facebook or YouTube, which is what I normally stuck to. But something was telling me it's time to expand. But at the same time, you need to be more reserved within your practices and everything. So I took that step back and started delving into the gnosis, started delving into the rituals and the rites, spending more time in the ritual room, spending more time researching and studying. And before long, I realized I'm not just taking responsibility for my own career as a sorcerer, a warlock, but I'm not leaning on people. I'm literally doing the work, creating a path working, creating those connections, creating the new ways of doing rituals and evolving. And then last week, I had a revelation. I had created a lifestyle, a lifestyle. I had put together a lifestyle that I didn't even realize I had. So not only have I been put, I've been taken from one job, got into another job, only to have the outlook and the growth needed through knowledge and wisdom to get into areas such as going back to college for thanatology or getting into psychology, getting into practices that revolve around death, dying, and necromancy. I've been practicing necromancy full time for about 3 years now, and various different forms from Haitian Voodoo to Palo Mayumbi to Santeria and now Brujeria practices. And it's enlightening to see how you've been led on a subconscious level through all these backdoor alleys, so to speak, to get to where you are today. The reflection of the turmoils and the chaos and the drama that you had beforehand has faded into the background. You're completely focused on your studies, your practices, and your career. You're fully aware of that spiritual world that cohabitates with this reality and how they lead you to your goals. So, when I tell you that reflection is needed upon any given tradition, style, or fashion of philosophy or magical practice, be it Goetic, Voodoo, Quimbanda, Ambanda, Santeria, Brujeria, witchcraft, paganism, Wicca, Druidism, shamanism, whatever. I'm not joking. And it's interesting because over the last 2 years, I've also come to understand how closely related philosophy and magical practices go hand in hand as well. So it really does pay off to reflect and take a moment to reflect, to get away from society. Because since I took that step back, I've noticed it was like the veil has been pulled back from my eyes. Those scales have been removed. And I see the world for what it really is, how it's designed, how to maneuver through those proverbial minefields to do what is needed for me, my family, and the practices, not just the spirits that I have forged pacts and deals and relationships with. So, seeing where, for an example, I'm going to give you this example. Marcus Aurelius, in his book Meditations, said, if something is possible for one man, it is also possible for you too. Okay. And when thinking about baneful sorcery, because that's where I specialize in curses, hexes, and, you know, jinxes, it's funny because even Marcus Aurelius said, punish only he who has done the crime. And I look at my path in over 33 years, and I've seen how my practices have changed, how I've evolved, how I've grown. More, I think, more better because there's no pride, there's no ego. It's solely that practice. It would be like a martial artist fighting in a ring. There's no audience, there's no judge, there's no, jury or whatever you want to call them. At the tournaments, it's just you and your opponent in that perpetual combat. You're focusing solely on the fight ahead of you. And in this case, it's solely the spiritual pursuit. It's that knowledge from other realms, other dimensions, working with these spirits for to better myself, to grow within my magical practices. Okay. So reflection is something that is a very, very good thing for each and every single individual. Buddhism, Shintoism, it's even Stoicism. There's so much that goes into what we do that it can literally be like an anchor dragging you down beneath the surface of a river or lake or ocean. It's literally that amount of pressure that is suffocating you. So if you don't take time to step back, recharge your battery and focus, bringing yourself back into to balance and reflecting over day-to-day events. Not just that, but look at your career. Look at how you associate with your friends, your family. I used to every time my mother, for an example, would want to know about something, she'd say something that would just piss me off. You know what I'm saying? And it ended up being like a screaming match. It would be like, you know, it would be like literally, I wouldn't call it a screaming match, but more of an argument. So now it's like I'm just done. Not going to argue with you. Not going to do anything like that. No, because I've seen where it ends up. We've done this to death. You know what I'm saying? So doing the same thing within magical pursuits or spiritual pursuits, it's like trying to go through a wall. Eventually, you're going to learn to go around that wall. You're going to learn to go over it because there's only so many times you can hit your head against that proverbial concrete wall or brick wall before you begin to learn. And I look back over the last 10 years, I've even pulled back from my biological family. I don't know when that occurred or how that occurred, but even my better half has noticed that I'm more interested in books and learning and performing magic than to actually be associating with the world. I get on here and I do these videos to help teach people. But if you take away the magic, that's like taking a huge part of who I am. And it's because of this magical journey, this growth that I've become what I am today. And I look over and I see so many awesome practitioners out there that are doing the same thing. People like Frank White or you know, Curtis Joseph even. I mean, I heard he got away from Bog and he's been doing he's been doing this whole soul thing lately, and soul science is what he refers to it as. And I've been following it a little bit, but not too much. But you see all these people that once they got away from the T-bone, you hush up, mister. Come here. Hey, Daddy is doing a video. Why are you being mouthy? You're being so vocal. Is it because your sister's in the other room? Is that what it is? This is our younger one. He's a little boy. We call him Prince T-Bone. So go play. So I mean, it affects you on a lot of different levels that you're not ready for, and until you're ready to delve into these practices on a serious level, you're not going to be able to reflect and see that those changes. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very good thing to to reflect upon your choices. And the one source that keeps coming back into my mind is the Celtic Golden Dawn. And this is where you practice for a year and then reflect for a day. It is a system that I didn't realize that I've been doing over the last few years. And even today, I still do it. I reflect through meditation, I reflect through divination and communing with the spirits. Hey, Technicians USA, welcome back. It's good to see you. So, no matter what path you're on, I've always said, always back up what you preach with numerous sources and always make yourself available to the public. But eventually, you've got to also pay attention to yourself. You got to do what's in your best interest. And if you petition spirits to work with you and to aid you in your descent, for an example, I had a potential client that wanted me to be a spiritual teacher. Okay. And this is a young politician, so to speak. And dealing with demonolatry, with what this individual was going for, I got this person to listen to the spirits. And the reason for that is because each spirit has a specific capability, a talent. For an example, putting Boone and Viney together, just out of, example here, you have protection for your rights and your rituals, and you have the ability to gather that financial gain or profit that you're seeking for a particular task. Persuading men's minds, you can always go to Paimon to get the people to, necessary to favor you. King Belial, the giver and bestower of important titles like senatorships, ambassadorships, giving you excellent familiars and stuff like that. Belith, which makes you invisible, you know, and it's interesting to see just what these spirits can do and how they can work with you. But lately, I found myself pulling away from the goetic demons a lot. I still work with a few of them because I've got packs with them, I've got deals with them. But for the most part, I've been solely practicing one set of rites, working with one set of spirits a lot. And over the last 5 months, choosing one, working with one spirit per month, the entire month, just working rites and rituals and ceremonies with that one spirit, it's enlightening. Even my own coworkers have seen a huge difference in my persona, my personality, my demeanor. I was the kind of guy that would look at a coworker and say, "Well, you got two hands, you got 2 feet. Get your ass over here and do it yourself." I'm not going to put up with your bullshit, especially if you're going to stand there and lean for 10 minutes and then all of a sudden bark orders. Especially when you only got two people in the kitchen or wherever. You know, that stuff pisses me off a lot. But here's the funny thing: here we are, 4 or 5 months later, and that person doesn't even affect me. Doesn't even bring that side of me out because of who I've been working with. These different spirits ranging from 3 different towers. And it's amazing to see the effects, the how should I say this? The changes. They work on you just as much as they work within the world around you. It's highly potent. It's a very highly potent system. And the more I delve into it, the more I want to leave this world behind. I want to know more. I want to go further. I want to delve further into that apotheosis and that knowledge. And I was talking with a coworker just the other day, and it's like, if we end up getting terminated, who cares? We really don't need that job. We don't need that work. You know, it's just a part of who we are. It's a stepping stone that is needed at this particular time. And I want you to think about that within your lives. What is it that you are seeking and trying to perform within your sorcery when working with these spirits? Any spirit, any deitas, god or goddess. What part of you is aligned with them? Are you working with them for a particular goal or vice versa? And are they helping you to achieve your goals too? Is that mutual beneficial relationship? Are you growing on it for a long term relationship? But more so, what is it that you are desiring that you truly need? For an example, when I started working with a particular set of spirits, weeks went by and I realized their purpose is to tear down illusions, delusions, even to burn away the bullshit surrounding you in particular. They get rid of the drama, the chaos, the lies. They pull back that veil and help you to see without the blinders. the knowledge, the wisdom, the hidden gnosis. It's fascinating to see how they work. Others are leading you to the knowledge of spiritual growth, maturity, the self-evolution through mastery of self, not being ruled by emotional replies to a world that is literally designed to keep you down, to keep you into servitude. So, how do you get these spirits to work with you? To do this, it's very simplistic. Petition them, work with them, be true to them, be honest with them. But the biggest thing, be honest with yourself. Because once you're honest with yourself, then you can be honest with these spirits. And the more you're honest between yourself and them, the more you're going to benefit from this. Magic works because it's not bound by falsity. It working with these spirits, acknowledging what these spirits can do, honoring the days and the hours and you know all this other stuff that goes along with it. It's mind-blowing, it's fascinating, and most importantly, it brings you closer to your true self, your true self, not the persona that you show the world. Anybody can show you one thing and be something completely other. For an example, take Bulk for an example. You take EA Quitting, aka Matthew Lawrence. He puts on this big show within his videos. But have you ever taken the time to listen to those who have been betrayed by him, who have been cast aside by him? I have. Basically, the stories peg him out to be a douche, a jackass, arrogant, haughty, egotistical, a tyrant. Whereas other sources peg him as a hero. How do you know what's real and what's not? How do you how do you delve into a world such as a magical or spiritual or supernatural realms and realize what's considered to be an illusion is actually a lie? This is actually the real deal. Okay? I have nothing to do with Bulk. I don't want anything to do with Bulk. I find them to be a cult, a momentary, how should I say this? Annoyance, a nuisance, a distraction. 'Cause that's all they are. Anybody who really wants to get into magic and sorcery, they're not going to do videos for shits and giggles. They're not going to sit there and give you that little tidbit of temptation just to get the almighty dollar. If one of us charges you for something, it's mostly for our time and for the resources that we're expending. That's it. Information is free, plain and simple. Reflection is needed to find out who and what you truly are. What are you about? Where are you going? How are you going to get there? How are you to grow? How are you to learn if you do not reflect upon your truth? When somebody contacts me, I always say, speak your truth. Speak your truth. They don't wonder why. A lot of times you see these people from Ghana or Ethiopia, Nigeria mostly. And these are the ones that contact me. Some of them just want to talk. Others have questions, but most of them, they're not truly interested in magic, sorcery. They're in it because they think that they do. I won't help them. I'm not going to do the work for them. They need to step up to the plate and do the work themselves. I've learned more in 3 years than I've learned in 33 through Satanism and devil worship, witchcraft. In 3 years, I've learned more about the magical practices, the mechanics behind them, the knowledge and relationships of the spirits, because I've taken the time to step back from the world and reflect. Dude, shut up. T-Bone's mouthing again. So I gotta go see what he wants. But anyways, I want to thank Mother Eldridge for jumping on here with me. I want to thank Technicians USA for jumping on here with me. And for those of you who come in after the fact, consider what it was said here today. Reflect upon your choices, your decisions. Reflect upon where you see yourself 5, 10, 15 years down the line. What would you say to yourself? Where do you see yourself? And how would you go about getting there? Wouldn't it be through spiritual journey? Some would say time travel, or others would be folding time and space, string theory. Who knows? All you can do is be yourself. Have a good day. And until next time.